Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. This is going to be an entry into a contest here. Actually, there's two contests I need to do. My next video will be a response in the bets contest, but this is a response for Matt over at the Accusation Network. Actually, a new channel I just discovered like 3 days ago, something like that. Someone leaving a comment, and I kind of followed the trail and discovered his channel. But yeah, after seeing his channel and seeing his contest video, I thought he was hilarious and had to kind of jump on board. So make sure you go check him out. I'll leave a link down below. But I said, I've just discovered him. He's been around for a while because he's at 2,000 subs now. But really cool guy, just kind of funny because he has like the perfect makings for a serial killer, right? Because he has like a friendly face when he talks. He has kind of a very just nice, friendly kind of voice, like the kind of guy that you would put on to run a kids special on, some network or something like that. But then when you listen to some of the stories and stuff that he tells, it's kind of totally hilarious. And yeah, I just really enjoyed checking out some of his videos and sub to his channel. And just definitely kind of guy you can just sit around and just listen to him tell you stories, all night long, and you would just love hearing them all. So make sure you go over there and check out Matt's channel, and I'm going to jump in and do a response to his contest. It's called A Tale of 8 Albums is his contest. And so what he basically did here was, Kiss being a band that he really likes, he took 8 Kiss albums, and he's kind of the questions are kind of playing off the title of the album. So you'll see as we kind of go through here. But the first question, category/question is for Hotter Than Hell, and it's show me an album cover or song that depicts, fires or flames, or like, burning pits of hell or anything like that, and then tell him about the hottest place you've ever visited and why you were there. So album-wise, of course, my knee-jerk reaction was to go grab Hell Awaits by Slayer, but I thought it's kind of obvious. So I ended up going with something a little bit different, which is Streets of Fire. This is the soundtrack for Streets of Fire. Definitely one of my favorite 80s movies there. And this is kind of an alternate cover. I don't know if it was the UK cover, if it was a Japanese cover, but definitely different than the American release of this. But you can clearly see all the flames and fire there. Great album. Nowhere Fast might be my favorite song off of there. Awesome track that gets me freaking pumped. I love listening to that song when I'm in the car. But then so like tell him about the hottest place you've ever visited and why you were there. I would probably say maybe Mexico. I was down there during the kind of middle of the summer, so it was already hot as heck in kind of the New Mexico and Arizona areas, and going down to Mexico, we hung out down there and just kind of had a good time, and all that good stuff. But yeah, that was definitely hot. Next here, Dress to Kill is the second category. Show an album cover or a song that depicts extremely fancy dress or kind of no dress at all, and then tell them about the outfit or style of dress you wore as a kid that you wouldn't be caught dead in now. So 2 kind of came to mind that I really wanted to show. One here is trying to get the glare out. Naked and Shameless. You can see why this album cover would make the cut. Nice little 45 there. Side A, Mowing the Lawn, of course, and side B, Hillbilly Cat and 4 Food Groups. Just kind of a punk type thing. In case you're not familiar with that group, I don't think they were never huge or anything, but cool tracks. And then the one that really kind of jumped out at me initially was this one here, which is Handsome Furs, and this is Sound Capital on orange vinyl there. So really cool album, kind of a synth pop, dream pop kind of thing. And they did release a different album cover too, which is like a white album cover with like a cartoon, I think city kind of background or something like that. But it was far from this one. But I'm definitely glad I got this version. So that's a No Dress album cover. And then, oh, a style or something you did back in high school that you wouldn't be caught dead doing now. Two things. Number one, I owned a pair of hammer pants back in high school. Hammer pants that I actually wore to school. So that crap ain't happening again. And the second thing would definitely be back to the haircuts. Because, you know, I was in high school. I graduated like 91. So I was in high school late 80s going into the early 90s. And the high top fades were totally in. And even more so, it kind of got to where, you know, all the different stuff that went in the high top fades went in. So, you know, senior year, I had a high top fade. It was at least 4 inches, 5 inches tall. But of course, it was one of those stepped ones. So it was like, you know, higher on one side than on the other, but completely boxed off with right angles. And then on the sides, you have it faded down. But on one side, hair would go all the way down to the middle. On this side, it was bald. So you kind of had from the back, one half had hair, one half didn't. Well, on the side that didn't have hair, right, especially on game days, basketball game days, you would have to let that hair grow out back there for like a week or so, which you wouldn't be able to keep it all bald. Because on game days, we would meet in the locker rooms, those of us that had those cuts, and actually have our numbers cut into the back of our heads. So I'd have a 41 back there on the bald side. So you cut the 41 and then cut everything around it bald. So on one side you have, you know, bald head with a 41, and the other side you have hair. You have the step fade up top, and then all kind of lines and zigs up here. I mean, I don't know why either we weren't walking around like falling over to one side, or people weren't getting seasick walking by us, because there was just all kinds of stuff going on in our heads. So yeah, definitely wouldn't be caught dead doing that today. Maybe that's the reason why I keep shaving my head bald, and I've been bald for like 16 years now, 17 plus years. Because I have no male pattern baldness. I mean, my hair actually grows very fast. You give me 2 weeks and I have a full head of hair. But maybe it's PTSD that keeps me cutting everything off. But let's move on to the next one. So that was Dress to Kill. Destroyer. Show me an album cover that depicts someone or something in the act of destruction, and then tell me about a tale of destruction, however you choose to define that. So again, one of the first things I thought about was Fat Boys crushing, because of course, you know, if they're sitting on top of the car, the next thing you know, it's crushed. So there's your destruction. And of course, love my Fat Boys. Oh, tale of destruction. So again, I was never kind of a person, like as a kid, I didn't go around vandalizing things and stuff like that. So there really wasn't a ton of like, you know, destruction. But one thing I did think about was when my friend Matt got his permit. I had been 16 for a couple months and had my license. He gets his permit, comes home. He's like, "Hey Brandon, want to go out tonight?" Excuse me. Thought I was gonna sneeze. Because, you know, if you're a licensed driver, so my mom will let me take the car out, my permit. If you was like, heck yeah, let's go out, man. So his mom has 2 cars. She has a Mustang 5.0 and has a Camaro, right? And so he takes the Camaro because he can't drive a stick at the time. So we go out, we're hanging out, we go to this party. A guy that lives 4 houses up from us named Mike, he has a Mustang. You know, he's two years older than us. He's been drinking, so he was responsible enough to go, "Hey Brandon, would you take my car home? You know, would you drive it home for me?" It's like, yeah, no problem. Because I never drank. I was always a designated driver when I, actually later in life, but I never drank. So he was like, "Yeah, we take my car home for me." I'm like, sure. So we leave the party, and we have like a bunch of people in the car I'm driving, which is a Mustang, and then Matt is in his Camaro now. And we take a few people home. We end up going to the boulevard, and long story short, we're waiting to pull out of a Hardee's. Car's clear, and Matt decides to gun it. Like, he's slamming the pedal on this V8 Camaro, and he has like 3 hours of driving experience. So of course it fishtails and gets away from him, and he ends up going over this like drainage ditch thing that dropped down, I don't know how many feet, to a baseball field. But it was enough to where we're sitting there, we watch him fishtail, and the car just disappears over the edge of this thing, and we're like, holy cow, what just happened? And so I'm waiting for traffic to go by, and it finally clears, and I go across the street, And we get out of the car and look to the left, and all we see is the car sitting almost vertical, like headlights shooting straight up in the air, wheels spinning and everything. And Matt and a guy named Tony, I'll never forget that, come walking out of these bushes, and they're all just like muddy and grass and stuff all over them. There's bushes and dirt and everything all in the front of the car while it's standing up like that. It's like, holy cow, you've had your permit for like 8 hours and boom. So that's one funny story of destruction I'm thinking about, even though it wasn't necessarily my destruction. God, I haven't thought about that in forever. Okay, so moving right along. Love Gun is the next one. Show me an album cover or a song that depicts either firearms or large projectiles, weaponry or catapults, cannons, whatever. And then tell me a story involving either guns or getting a girl or guy. So, you know, weapons, cannons, guns, and all of that. Again, I couldn't pass up Coup d'etat by the Plasmatics. As you can see, the big tank right there in the front. And then, of course, you know, Wendy with her 2 guns on the back there. But yeah, Wendy O. Williams, Plasmatics. Awesome. I mean, that chick was scary. I love Wendy. But if you haven't heard that album before, make sure you check out the song Put Your Love in Me. Yeah, definitely my favorite song off of that album. Story about a gun. So you guys know I'm a big Second Amendment guy, so I've been around guns for a long time. So probably one of the best stories I can think of is I was dating a girl a number of years ago who was kind of anti-gun. You know, didn't like guns, didn't think anyone needed a gun, the whole nine. What's funny, because one night we're sleeping and we hear this gigantic crash in the living room. It's like someone just broke the front window, so someone's breaking into the house, right? It's really late at night, so she jumps out of the bed, and her first instinct is to run to the corner, and she just has like this look of fright and panic on her face that just like I still remember to this day. And so my first thought was, okay, grab my gun. And since I had little nieces and nephews at the time, I didn't really keep ammunition in my house. So even if they ever found my guns, which they wouldn't find that either, but there was still no ammunition. But the only thing I did keep was a magazine that I had hidden like up in the ceiling type of thing, where they couldn't reach it and get to it even if they knew it was there, because you know they were 4 years old, that type of thing. But I kept it hidden so I'd have at least one thing. So anyway, so we hear the crash pop up, my girlfriend freaks out, she jumps into the corner, and in the dark, I've actually practiced this a number of times, I grab my gun, I go up in the ceiling, grab my clip, put it in, and I go by the door and I rack a round up. I try to give a warning to the person that's out there. It's like, I'm armed, just leave, blah, blah, blah. I don't hear anything. And so, yeah, my girlfriend is like buck naked in the corner, all curled up. I have on underwear and my socks. I don't know how I fell asleep, but so I have underwear, socks, and a Ruger 45, and I'm like ready to go. And so I'm like, you know, going out to the hallway, and I'm kind of sweeping and clearing as I'm going through. And then I look around the corner and come to find out the blind on the window had fallen, and we had a bunch of tea light candles that were sitting all across the windowsill, and it just hit those all at once, and all of that glass exploded. And that's what made that huge sound. And I'm like, holy cow. It's like, you know, I'm standing there with in my underwear with a freaking Ruger 45 in my hand. But so that was definitely kind of a crazy gun story. And I'll never forget though, the thing that was funny about that, my ex-girlfriend at the time, totally changed her perception on guns at night. She was like, I can't say I like them, I still don't, but I was so glad you had that thing. I was so glad you had that thing. I was like, yeah, it's easy not to care about that stuff when you don't need it. Like, it means nothing until the moment, you know. So, but that was my gun story. So, God, this is bringing up a lot of things I haven't thought about in a long time. So the next one here is Unmasked. Show an album or a song that depicts revealing something or someone, and tell me about your favorite Halloween costumes. Or tell me about one of your favorite Halloween costumes. Well, I could have used this one last time for the gun thing, but Ice-T Power, I thought this was a great example because what this ends up kind of revealing when you look at the back cover is Ice-T and his boy are packing too. So that's kind of a reveal. I don't think it's much of a secret what we were revealing on her though. She's, you know, not wearing much on the front either. But great album too. Probably my favorite Ice-T album actually. Love this one to death. Grand Larceny, Power, you know, High Rollers, all kinds of great stuff on that. In fact, I'm gonna spin that after this video. So then tell me about your favorite Halloween costumes. Favorites would probably be maybe the time we dressed up as chicks. I mean, I was one ugly broad, that's for sure. Like they said in Deuce Bigelow, like, that's a huge bitch. Like, that's what they were probably saying about me, because I was one ugly chick. That's probably one of my favorites right there. So next category is Creatures of the Night. Show an album cover or song that depicts like vampires or werewolves or mythical beings that lurk in the shadows, and then tell about one of your wildest nighttime stories. So I really try to think about that too. It's like, okay, with all the album covers and everything out there, what would be like the scariest, most like evil things that could lurk in the dark and that you should just fear to no end and have like just the most evil, you know, within them, and just all that stuff you should be so scared of. And I thought, oh, I know the best beings for that would be politicians. So, you know, so we had to go with Megadeth, The System Has Failed. You know, yeah, which is perfect here. You know, you have like Hillary Clinton over there, and you have like George Bush over there, and Bill Clinton. You know, especially like with Hillary being right there on the front and everything else, is like that's perfect. Beings that lurk in the night that you should fear, and just that entire line of politicians standing there is exactly what you should fear. And then the second part of that question was one of your wildest nighttime stories. I don't know if it was wild, but maybe more of a funny nighttime story. Wild from a funny standpoint. I used to date this girl back in high school whose bedroom was on the first floor of her house, and it was kind of a split level. So like the window for her bedroom was only a foot off the ground outside, that type of thing. So I used to sneak over there all the time, and you know, late at night, and sneak into her room. And it was actually, the thing about it is, it was just really innocent hanging out. We weren't doing anything at all. It was just, we hang out and talk and blah, blah, blah. She just had such an early curfew. So one night, we're hanging out, just sitting there talking, and she goes, I think someone's coming. I thought I heard someone come down the stairs. I'm like, oh crap. So I get up, and it's running to the closet. There's one of the closets that have like those slats in it or whatever. So I shut the closet door, and it's kind of a tiny closet too, so I'm kind of just like, you know, in there, you know, all 6'5" in me at the time. And I'm just like, oh shit, we're busted. And her mom comes in, and she's like, what's going on, Mom? And she's like, I heard the dogs barking. She says, is there somebody out there or something? She's kind of peeking out the window. I can see this through the slats. And I'm like, oh crap, she's gonna come open this door and we are busted. I'm gonna have to do the walk of shame through the house, upstairs, out the door. But my ex played it really cool at that time, because instead of trying to like, what are you talking about, and get out of here, instead she engaged her in another conversation. And she was like, no, Mom, there's nobody out here. But actually, I'm glad you came down here because I wanted to ask you about something. She's like, what? What's that? And she started talking about some swimming thing they had to go do or something else, and talked to her for like 10 minutes or so. And just totally took her mind off the fact that she was down there because she thought she heard something. And so for 10 minutes, I'm just in the closet like this, like, don't move. You're going to knock over a shoe. You're going to knock something off. Just don't move. And I sat there for like 10 minutes, and I can see this whole conversation through the slats. And thank goodness she got up and left, and I was like, oh my God, I could have swore we were busted. So again, I don't know if that's a wild night story, but it was definitely a funny one. Let me just set this back towards the beginning there. So let's move on. Two more here. The next one is Asylum. Show an album cover or song that depicts insanity, or committing to a mental facility, or a path to losing your mind, and then tell you about one of the craziest dudes you ever met. So on the album or cover side, I'm going with Sepultura, Schizophrenia, and of course the cover kind of speaks for itself there, so you know all about that one. Great album, great band, legendary in my book. Craziest dude I ever met. Craziest dude, the one I'm thinking about to answer this question, because the crazy I tend to like are people that are funny crazy. I don't necessarily dig the crazy that hurts other people and, you know, just kind of being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole, just because you want to be wild and crazy. Like, so people that are actually just kind of funny but not really hurting anyone. And so the first person like that comes to mind for me is a guy named Estes that used to play basketball with us back in college. And he was always the one you could dare to do anything, and he always just the silly, just the joker, that kind of guy. But one of the things he used to do that cracked me up, all of us, but really me up to no end, is his dives, his cafeteria dives. He was almost known for it. Even on campus he would do this, where he would be walking with his books or whatever, and then we would just tell him, take a dive, Estes, and he would just act like he tripped and just throw his books as high in the air as he possibly could. And he would do this in the middle of just tons of people. But the funniest ones were always the ones he did in the cafeteria. So whenever there was a really, you know, the cafeteria was crowded or jam-packed, specifically I'm thinking about a parents' weekend, and you know, tables are close anyway, and it's just parents in there, you know, standing room for some people because it's so packed. Like, oh my God, Estes, you got to do the dive, man. You got to do the dive. He's like, okay, we're going to make this a good one here. And he started taking cups and everything off our plates and stacking them on his plates, taking our forks and knives. And so he has this tray with like 5 plates, 8 cups, you know, 10 different utensils and everything. It's just packed to no end. And he gets up and just starts walking really fast, like in the middle of all these tables, and just acts like he trips and just, you know, screams out. And of course he makes an extra effort to throw the tray high in the air, and it's just cups and plates and silverware goes flying. And everyone's like, oh, are you okay? And of course we're just underneath the table laughing at this. So Estes always did just crazy stuff like that, man. He was a nut. So yeah, he definitely belonged in Asylum. So last question here is revenge. Show an album cover or a song that depicts any sort of payback, vendetta, or anything like that, and then tell you about a time when you got some sweet revenge on someone. So I'm going to go with the Pink Swords here. Shut Up and Take It. Not sure 100% if that's revenge or not, but that has to have some type of vendetta, revenge, or something attached to it when you look at that. Just kind of a, you know, nice little punk type thing. I'm not sure if people may be familiar with this band or not, but that definitely looks like revenge to me. And as far as the time that I got some sweet revenge on someone, I don't know. I haven't really been a vengeful person. I mean, in terms of like actually going out and trying to get back at someone and trying to hurt them or that type of thing. I would say maybe one time back in high school, there was a girl who cheated on me, and you know, broke up with her or whatever else. And then one night I was out with a couple of friends, and they actually came with the idea of egging her car. And so they went and bought some eggs and all of that. But when we got there, I threw a couple myself. You know, I can't lie about that. But that's about the closest to revenge. That's not even revenge, I would say, that I've ever gotten to. So, but yeah, there you go, man. Fun questions, definitely ones that take you down memory lane. But again, make sure you go over and check out Matt's channel. So the link's down below. And as always, thanks for watching, VC. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of comments about this video. And we'll talk to you soon.